Thank you. Olive Oil's Pizzeria. I couldn't even finish eating. Thanks, Ryan, Alexis. You know what? This is delicious. I got like a puddle of oil here. It's so great. Call them 412-831. Did you get that? 1900 right now. It was great. Thanks, Olive Oil's Pizzeria. We appreciate it. I'm Al Levine, the talking machine. We got Chip, the Prophet Hayner. Wait, I can't find Smoking Jim Frazier.
Neither can I.
He has car trouble, and he'll be back next week or our next show. And we got Little Z, Zach Brenner's right, moved up to his spot. Smoking Jim, you're getting near the end of the panel, buddy. I know you watch every show. Thanks for watching Pittsburgh Sportsline, locally here in Bethel Park on Comcast 7. We appreciate all the viewers. This is live TV, folks. Verizon 32 everywhere. Thanks for watching us from Nemacolin all the way up to Cranberry, Wexford, including the city of Pittsburgh. And pardon me, I am trying to not talk and eat, but you know the talking machine can talk. So I just about finished that. Thank you for helping us get to 4,600 likes on Pittsburgh Sportsline on Facebook. And Smoking Jim did an LOL by text. He's watching the show on his 99-inch LED HD XYZ TV that only he has in God's country. Smoking Jim, we got a whole box of pizza. They made a second box for us, and I said, you're not going to be here, so we'll have more pizza, maybe next week. What else do we have here? We're going to usually talk about what's on our mind. We got a little distracted with the late delivery on pizza by Al Levine. And we start our show off with what's on our mind, and we're going to start out with Zach Brenner. What's on your mind, Zach?
Well, Al Levine, the talking machine. Happy to have Devin Shea back in the US of A. Got to thank Devin and all the guys. Everybody celebrated Memorial Day yesterday. We'll give a hand to Al Levine's son, Drew, Devin Shea in the control room, and everybody that puts it on the line or has put it on the line for this great nation of ours. Always saluting the troops. As you can see, I'm not going to steal any of Chip and Al Levine's thunder by talking about the Buccos' resurgence in the last couple of weeks. There's 162 games in the season, so as easy as it comes in is as easy as it goes. Those bats could cool off tomorrow.
Is that a negative statement after the positive streak they've had?
What's really on my mind is I want to take a second to talk about something that I'm very excited about, and that's the Fight Company, which is opening on June 1st at Century 3 Mall. It's going to have over 35 heavy bags, a large amount of CrossFit material, over 20 pull-up bars. I know Al Levine loves to work on those pull-ups, on those guns that he has, but I'm very excited for the Fight Company that's opening on June 1st, and that's what's on my mind.
Thanks, Zach. Appreciate it. All right. No Smoking Jim threw me off my regular routine.
Mm-hmm.
Chip the Prophet Hayner, what's on your mind?
Well, thank you, Alan. It's good to be back after a 1-week hiatus. We've got a lot of great Pittsburgh sports to talk about, so I'm not going to delve into any of that right now. Okay, we've got the rest of the show to do that. You know, we've got the NHL playoffs, we've got the NBA playoffs, and there's a lot going on there. But I wanted to touch on something that I'm sure was brought up last week, but, you know, it's... Well, maybe I can be enlightened by my esteemed colleague here to my right, Alan, and his expertise on union and labor negotiations.
Okay,
and here's where I'm going with this. You know, last week I heard one of the most disingenuous statements ever made by anybody that's ever been accused of anything, and that was Bob Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots. Yep. And, you know, he said even though he disagrees with the finding of the people that he hired to do an investigation into Deflategate, that he was going to accept the punishment because it was what was best for the other 32 teams. And he tries to make it seem like somehow, some way that the New England Patriots were treated unjustly or unfairly. And, it just dripped of just no sincerity at all. So now here's the next thing that I'm thinking about. Okay, he didn't want the NFL to be dragged through the mud, to be dragged through the court system over this thing.
Right.
It's just best to put it to rest. Well, then you get Tom Brady. Tom Brady's been suspended for 4 games. Okay. Well, this is great, So the NFL Players Association, as it's supposed to do, decides that yes, we'll represent Tom Brady in his appeal. Okay. Well, the first thing the NFLPA does is they say, well, we want Roger Goodell to recuse himself from the being the arbitrator here because we don't feel that it's being fair. Well, this is where my friend Al can help me out here, and just let me finish my thought here before you
Look,
do.
I'm wiping grease off
Okay,
my closet.
so you've got a collective bargaining agreement, and you've got an agreement that was collectively bargained by both sides, the Players Association and the owners, and they agreed on how discipline was going to be meted out and who was going to be responsible to hear this. So now, by the union making the statement that they want him to recuse himself, are they then violating the collective bargaining agreement which they signed? And if that is the case, does that mean like the whole collective bargaining agreement is no longer any good? Is it null and void? And if it is, well, then don't you think that Mr. Brady is being a little bit selfish, trying to save his reputation and damaging the rest of the players and the game of football itself? When, if he would just follow the lead of his owner and just shut up and take your punishment and move on, this would all go away. But no, it's going to get dragged through the court system because you know what Roger Goodell is going to do. He's, at best, I think he might reduce the suspension to 2 games. But, this is going to get dragged through the courts and it's going to be. But how does them demanding that Roger Goodell not listen to the appeal affect the collective bargaining agreement? Didn't they both agree on that?
I'll join in on you on this.
This
because
is where
I did want to bring something up about it because it was unique. The last couple of days, I actually had people ask me about Deflategate.
Yeah.
And I take a very dictatorship type role that you should just ban Brady. And he's done. And why? Because they've been cheaters many times. And Belichick, even though he denies he knows anything, he controls everything. So, I mean, there's not a lot of proof, but everybody knows it. They should just pull Kenshaw Landis and ban them. That's what would happen. And then let Kraft pay the whatever fines and other things that would happen. And maybe they couldn't be in the playoffs for so many years. But that's what I've told a few people. But getting back to the CBA, here's how simple it is. People don't realize their compromises. You get some stuff you like, I get some stuff I like as an owner or whatever, and that's what we deal with. Maybe I didn't like what I had to give you and you didn't like what you got. Guess what? Goodell is the emperor. He gets to make all these decisions. Now, the Players Association, I give them credit. They're trying, full court press to use a basketball term because they're all coming right at him. And they're going to try that. It'll get thrown out. Goodell still has the right. He doesn't have to recuse himself on that. It's pretty clear in their CBA. That's why so many of his rulings get changed, because he has doubts and political pressure, even though we don't hear it from the teams. How do 32 teams agree on everything? Look at Baltimore has been driving this Deflategate more than anybody else. They're the ones that warned about it, said they caught him, and who knows if they're guilty on things, but that stuff happens. My point is the CBA will override all of this stuff, and they can appeal whatever they want. They'll still go by that. And if he chooses to do like he normally does and reduce, time off or how many games he's suspended, it'll be on Goodell solely. Just like he has to watch himself now because he's been tied in so closely with Kraft. So I think it might stay to 4 games as well it should. Whether it's a stupid infraction or it doesn't really help, who knows? But they fumble over 50, 60% less because of deflated balls. Look at the stats. So, I mean, that's part of it, Chip.
Yeah, it just amazes me that they can agree that this is the way we're going to allow ourselves to be judged. And now, because the marquee player in the league is being judged that way, well, wait a minute, this isn't fair. Well, it was fair enough to agree on it a couple of years ago when you signed the agreement, wasn't it?
Right. The best thing they could do is just shut up about it and move forward,
and
win
let it go
another
away.
Super Bowl or do whatever they're going to do.
And let it go away.
Yeah, and it will. 4 games in a season, that's not too bad for all those years and all those Super Bowls. Mm-hmm. So,
but that's what's on my mind. And just to let you folks know, I got a text from my friend Jim Frazier, and he said Brady will play in week 1. We'll see.
Yeah. Hold it. He sent me the same thing. Smoking Jim, you finally come up with a new line, and then you send it to both of us. You might have sent it to Zach. You know what? Take another week vacation off. That's what you needed, fresh material.
We need you, Jim.
That's
we
a
need you,
white
my
party.
friend. We need you here, brother.
We do that. That was partially what's on my mind. But for all the people about the Buccos, woe is me, they're over 500 now.
No, they're at 500.
I thought they were over 500.
22 and 22.
Oh, man, I was too hopeful.
After they win tonight.
Okay, all right. I was jumping ahead of myself. All right, but they got on a winning streak. They've had 4-game, 5-game winning streaks, 4-game, 5-game, 3-game losing streaks. That's what a season's all about. Don't give up on the Buccos. Let's go Buccos. And I do have a few announcements to make because I saw John over there paying attention. For everybody that didn't go to the farmer's market today, it's every Tuesday, rain or shine, 3 o'clock till 7 o'clock. Check out the farmer's market up at St. Thomas More, right on Fort Couch Road. All the great things are still there, plus even more. Check that out. And then we didn't have a show on location this week, although Duke's Rib House and Grill wanted us to have a show on Memorial Day. Well, to honor our veterans, we didn't have a show. And so Skeets, he had his normal munch on Monday where he honors veterans and everybody to come out and munch the food. And he has all kind of things there that you could eat. If you need a car service, bring it out on a Monday. He puts out a spread. You won't have to eat the rest of the day. And give him a call, 724-348-4715. And the last thing I want to tell you, you've seen this stainless steel Weber grill donated by EV Hardware. Well, I'm out of tickets. There's going to be one last day to get your final tickets. It'll be at South Park Shops on June 6th, I think from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. I make an appearance and wander around trying to sell tickets, so look for me wandering South Park Shops, 10 and 2. Thank you. And that's what's on my mind. And now we're going to start our segments there. Smoking Jim, why don't you call in and give us fiction and fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac? 412-831-3304. Smoking Jim, you know the number. I know you're watching. Let us know. All right, he didn't call. Chip, let's do trivia time.
Let's do trivia time. Okay, well, you know, I've got several different avenues to follow here on trivia time. And, you know, one of them I want to pay tribute to one of Alan's favorite ball players of all time, Babe Ruth. On May 25th, 1935, he hit the last 3 home runs of his career right here in Pittsburgh at Forbes Field. And the interesting thing about one of the home runs that he hit was also the first player to ever hit a ball physically out of Forbes Field. He hit it over the right field roof, out over onto the to the roadway. So tip our hat to Babe Ruth in the end of his illustrious career. But to get back to another part of his career that shouldn't be forgotten about was back when Babe Ruth was a member of the Boston Red Sox. And Babe Ruth won a game on May 20th, 1919. He won a game on the mound and at the plate, believe it or not, because Babe Ruth, if people didn't realize, was really an amazing pitcher, as well as a power hitter. He hit his first career grand slam, and the Boston Red Sox beat the St. Louis Browns 6-4. Wow. That was on May 20th, 1919. Also wanted to make a little announcement of the greatest pitcher, I think, that ever pitched in baseball, Cy Young, who's the award's named after. On May 19th, 1910, he won his 500th game. There are most pitchers that have never even pitched in 500 games, and he won his 500th. But the rest of my trivia this evening is going to be somewhat related to the Pittsburgh Pirates, believe it or not. Who knew? Who knew? What happened this weekend over at PNC Park between Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday? They had Garrett Cole pitched on Friday night, struck out 10 batters.
I know.
A.J. Burnett pitched on Saturday evening, struck out 10 batters. Francisco Liriano, to do them one better, struck out 12 on Sunday. That gave them 32 strikeouts in 3 games by the starting pitchers. Now, the last time that was done by Pittsburgh pitching staff was in 1969. The 3 pitchers that were responsible were Bob Veal, a big, rugged left-hander, threw the ball like real fast.
He could throw a brick wall.
Bob Moose, may he rest in peace, who died in the early 70s of a tragic accident, and Doc Ellis, the flamboyant pitcher of the late 60s, early 70s of the Pirates, who supposedly pitched a no-hitter under the influence of LSD. So that's a pretty amazing statistic for the pitchers to have accomplished there. Also, on May 26, 1959, what I consider the greatest accomplishment of any Pittsburgh pitcher ever in a losing effort, Harvey Haddix pitched 12 innings of no-hit baseball and lost the game in the 13th inning on getting a base hit. And pitchers don't even pitch more than 6 or 7 innings anymore. He pitched 12 innings of hitless baseball, lost his no-hitter in the 13th inning. That happened May 26, 1959. Also, a gentleman that played for the Pirates for a number of years, Paul Waner. As a member of the Boston Braves, got his 3,000th career hit on May 19, 1942, to join the 3,000 hit club. May 19, 1956, Dale Long. Dale Long started a streak that stood for a number of years. I believe Ken Griffey Jr. may have tied it. He hit a home run in 8 consecutive baseball games. It started May 19, 1956. 1981. The We Are Family Pittsburgh Pirates, just a year and a half removed from their world championship in 1979, the Pirates' Jim Bibby gave up a leadoff single to Terry Harper of the Atlanta Braves. No big deal. First batter up, he gets a base hit. He then retired the next 27 batters for a 5-0 one-hitter.
That's amazing.
And because the National League, if you play a field position, you have to bat, Jim Bibby also collected 2 doubles in that game. Also, going back to some more recent history, this may be a name that Zach may remember. Jason Kendall hit for the Cycle and drove in a career-high 5 runs, leading the Pirates to a 13-1 rout of St. Louis. Kendall had a 2-run homer in the first inning, an RBI single in the second, a double in the third, and a 2-run triple in the eighth. And that was on May 19th, year 2000. And the one last thing, at times I've talked about teams that have moved. I always felt bad that the Dodgers moved from Brooklyn to Los Angeles and that the Giants moved from the Polo Grounds to San Francisco. But the team that now resides in Atlanta got there by quite a circuitous route. They started out as the Boston Braves, and they weren't drawing well in Boston because they had the Red Sox to go against. So they moved to the city of Milwaukee, and I found this statistic here pretty interesting. But in 1953, in the 13th game of the season, the Milwaukee Braves surpassed their 1952 attendance of 281,278 when they were in Boston. So it took them 13 games in Milwaukee to put as many fannies in the seat as they did there last year in Boston. But that's my trivia for this week.
Thanks, Chip. Appreciate trivia time. Zach Brenner, what do you got on Z time?
Well, I was kind of hoping for the answer to how the designated hitter came into play. I'm still waiting for that. But now I got an even more important question. What do you pitchers do with these guys that keep getting caught with pine tar and substances on their body? 8 games isn't enough for me.
That's...
Is that 8 starts? Because that's not 8 starts. It's only 8 games, and there's a 162-game season. So
you make an excellent point. Hey, you know what? We've taken a pretty strong stand against people that cheat, whether they cheat with PEDs or pine tar or corked bat or whatever it is. I don't condone it. I think you want to go across the board and make punishments just. Boom, you're gone. I'd sit them for a year. That would stop it in a quick hurry.
Definitely, especially they're making it so obvious.
Yeah.
And before they used to hide it behind an ear or somewhere else, their pant leg.
And everybody talks
on the
about
glove. Catcher would have it.
Everybody talks about the good old days, but I think one of the things that makes sports so enjoyable is that you're playing on a level playing field. One team should not have an advantage over the other. If they've got better athletes, okay, then they did a better job at their job.
Sure.
But I mean, all this cheating stuff, I would love to see it just all go away. But
I mean,
it's in human nature.
it is, because everybody's always looking for an edge across the board. You know, they pump in crowd noise to make it louder. They do anything to gain
If
an
they
edge.
think they can get away with it. If you think somebody's watching, even a big 79 pounder now, since it's summertime almost, if somebody was watching you 24/7, you might not try to look for that edge.
I
Look,
doubt it.
There we go. Here's
They'd
a guy
still
that
always-
believes in it.
Always be pushing for that. You know, I think some probably great innovations have come out of pushing for an edge. They've constantly modifying things for safety, like the bats and such. But
Well, look at Phil Necro, got 300 wins throwing a spitball.
But back to another point. You guys never
whatever.
obviously got to watch
I
Cy
got
Young
crazy, sorry.
pitch.
No.
But in my opinion, for some reason, I feel like Nolan Ryan was probably go down as one of the greatest pitchers of all time.
He has to.
And as a matter of fact, I would have to tend to agree with you. He's probably the greatest pitcher I've witnessed in my lifetime. And there's a movie that's being released. It's a documentary. It's called Fastball. And they went through all this statistical analysis, and they were trying to determine which major league pitcher through history, and they did this through the fastest fastball, and they determined that Nolan Ryan clocked out at 108 miles an hour through the fastest fastball of anybody
Really?
in history. It's a very, very interesting documentary, and I can't wait till it's released so I can watch it. So I heard somebody talk about it that saw the premiere of it before it's been released, and I'm sure I'd absolutely find
I
it
can't
fascinating.
wait to see that.
I mean, if you had to, off the top of your heads, I mean, you guys are bountiful of knowledge in baseball. What would you say your all-time top 5 pitchers would be? Because, I mean, I'd have to make an argument for Oral Hershiser to be up, close.
Oral Hershiser, I'd say, would be top 10, but I'd say, you want to go top 3, right off the top of my head, I'd have to say possibly Sandy Koufax, Bob Gibson, Nolan Ryan. You can't forget about Tom Seaver. He's definitely top 5.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you on that.
You
Don
know.
Drysdale would get some consideration.
Don Drysdale would get some consideration, but Sandy Koufax, even though he didn't have an extended career, for the short period of time that he did pitch, he was basically unhittable. He was,
He was a lefty that had every, the pitches he needed.
And
curveball, fastball.
And he was great. And the problem with the injuries that ended Sandy Koufax's career are things that only keep people on the disabled list now for 3 or 4 weeks. Unfortunately, they didn't have the medical advancements that they have
and
now.
Arthritis shortened his arm, too. Arthritis was so bad, so he did have to quit early, and they did ice him and do different things like that, but the technology wasn't there.
But,
Who would you guys think would name your top 2 most dominating pitchers who were almost unhittable when they pitched mostly? Because, I mean, it's kind of hard to have the same stuff every single time you step on the mound, but...
Well, after the season...
Randy Johnson?
Randy Johnson
Yeah.
could be up there, but I'm going to tell you something, and this was long before you were born, Zach, but the year that Bob Gibson had in 1968 was unlike any other year. He had his season-long ERA was 1.12. He was absolutely sick, and the funny thing was he lost, I think, 10 or 11 games that year. He lost them 1-0. I mean, so, he's out there.
And he lost games that how could you even lose the game?
I mean,
He
we've
was
seen this.
unreal. They changed the sport.
They lowered the mound because he was so dominant. They lowered the mound by 6 inches.
And you would have liked to see him pitch because he was mean. He threw inside like he owned the inside of the plate. He didn't care. Players would crowd it. He'd throw that heat right at him because he'd hit the strike. It'd be a strike, they'd get hit. They'd have to get out of the way.
And the funny thing is about Nolan Ryan is I think that Nolan Ryan was a better pitcher the last 10 years of his career than he was the first 15.
Oh, yeah.
Because do you remember the movie, what was it, with the Wild Thing?
Major League.
Yeah,
Major League.
Yeah.
Remember Vaughn would try? They'd have him up there, and they had all the dents all over those things. And that's the way Nolan Ryan was. He threw a ball over 100 miles an hour, and sometimes it hit the catcher's mitt. As he got older, he got control and learned how to pitch, and he was a much better pitcher. That's when he threw most of his no-hitters.
Well, look at Koufax did the same thing. They couldn't even let him pitch in the major leagues. He was so wild. He was throwing it out of the ballpark towards the back where the catcher is. He was everywhere. He couldn't find home plate, but when he did, they couldn't hit him. So after he learned to pitch a little and control that, he was better too. That's what happened to him. Some of these great ones, you never know if people give up on some of these young pitchers early. What happens? What would they have been like? So.
Look what the Pirates keep on doing with everybody else's, all these reclamation projects. You know, nobody else could get them to do anything.
Ray Searage, hats off to him.
Uncle Ray, he's amazing.
You know, I know obviously the Penguins are golfing and playing hockey all over the world. So, but there's still playoffs going on, folks. The playoffs are still going on, and there is some good hockey that's taking place.
And there's
for anybody.
two series going on. Chicago, Anaheim. Anaheim scored 45 seconds into overtime last night to take that series to 3-2.
It's 3-2.
And the Rangers are down 3-2
to the Lightning.
And to the Lightning, but I don't count that Rangers team. I don't count either of these teams out because, you know, the Rangers came back from 3-1 against the Capitals. They came back from 3-1 against the Penguins last year.
Sure.
You know, Lundqvist, he's a big game goaltender, and I'm telling you what, they get it to Game 7. Mark my words, the Rangers will win.
Do you guys not get, when you see even Tampa Bay finding a way to light the lamp against the King Lundqvist, does it not ever make you scratch your head like, how do these guys figure out a way to score? But we have two of the top 10 players in the world on offense, and we just couldn't do it.
That makes you go,
That's an easy question to answer, Zach, and it all boils down to this: shoot the puck.
Yeah, the passes are nice.
The passes are nice, but if you don't shoot the puck at the net, when you put it on the net, things happen.
How amazing is it for the NHL where they're virtually on the verge of potentially having two expansion teams in the Stanley Cup with the Lightning and the Ducks, where they almost came in back to back virtually. Well, Lightning came in, then the Ducks came in.
You know, and here's the thing: you've got the team from the number one television market in the country in New York, and the number 3 television market in the country is Chicago, and of course number 2 is in Los Angeles.
Exactly.
And the last thing in the world the NHL needs to have happen right now is the Tampa Bay Lightning to make the finals, because its television ratings are going to go right in the toilet.
Right.
But, I mean, you know, I'd love to see the Lightning and the Ducks battle it out, even though I do believe that the Blackhawks, you know, they've won 2 cups in the last 5 years.
You can't count out either team right now. You can't count out
you can't.
The Blackhawks or the Rangers, because they both have the talent, especially the Blackhawks. The talent and the experience to definitely
Jonathan
take that
Toews
to 7.
And Patrick Kane and Crawford in the net. They've got a solid thing. But you know what? They play the games, and you know the way the NHL has been played this year is it seems like they play. I mean, what I love about the playoffs is I love sudden death overtime, and I don't think any game should ever end in a tie like they do in the regular season. And I hate the shootout. I think they should play every game to its conclusion.
You're old school.
But I think part of the CBA reasons behind that not going until it's over is because what about in baseball when they go to 20 innings or whatever? They don't want to do that in hockey. They're trying to cut down and preserve and trying to improve the product and not, you know.
But my thought is if you people knew that you had to win in 60 minutes, that you were not going to get any points. If you ended up with a tie, maybe you'd put better effort into the last 20 minutes of the game and try to win.
I just think it's one of those compromises, Levine, where they compromise.
It definitely is. It definitely is a compromise. But I'd rather them not just pass the puck around the last 10 minutes or 8 minutes of a game because it's tied. They don't want to take a chance. I mean, that's ridiculous hockey.
And to either win or lose a game based on a shootout, I just think it's bush league.
Well, and it also puts the shootout basically puts a lot of emphasis on your goalie. If your goalie's good one-on-one, you know, your goalie could stood on his head all day, and then you got to face those shootouts on a breakaway. How many breakaways you get in a hockey game in regulation? Maybe a couple if you're lucky. 3 in a matter of 3 periods, just wide open breakaways. But off to another playoffs that are taking place.
NBA.
The NBA, the National Basketball Association, their playoffs are going on, and huge shout out to LeBron James trying to bring a championship back to Cleveland for the first time since 1964. He's up right now 3-0, and they haven't had Kyrie Irving for a majority of that series so far, which is impressive.
I've got to tell you, and Kevin Love has been out the entire series, and I'll tell you what, if LeBron James can bring a championship to Cleveland, I might even go as far as saying as that man can probably walk on water. I mean, I'm telling you
if it's frozen.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now that he has got that team playing. I mean, being up 3-0, never expected this.
But what
Never
needs to
tried.
happen for the best scenario for LeBron is I watched the game last night with Golden State and the Rockets. It was a slugfest. Steph Curry fell on his head.
Yeah.
Looked like he might be out for the series. Then the next thing you know, the next quarter he's back in the back running laps and he comes back out and he's playing. But Houston still wins that game. So LeBron needs to finish tonight, finish out Atlanta, and hope that series with Golden State and the Rockets, they beat each other up and it goes a while, because Golden State on paper is the better team than the Cavaliers, but the Cavaliers have LeBron James, and like I said, LeBron James to basketball is Ben Roethlisberger to football. You're going to be in every single game as long as he laces up the shoes and goes out there and plays. So
Seth Curry has had a season of his life this year. He's the league MVP.
But
I'd like to see Cleveland
but
and
as you-
Golden State go at it.
But as you could allude to, Levine, though, with your father being a former official in basketball, I mean, defense is at a premium in the regular season in the NBA. That's
Did
my
you say
favorite.
defense? What is it?
Yeah, so
I'm looking for it.
yeah, a lot of that perimeter.
How long can you carry the ball when you go to drive to the
from
hoop?
the half court line, right?
Because I remember Julius Erving and them used to start at the top of the key, but they were flying.
Yeah.
These guys are taking steps. My dad would be outraged. We used to sit and watch games, and he goes, "That's 4 steps." I go, "Dad, I know." He goes, "Look, he carried the ball. That's it, let alone fouling the guys, So it's really loose there, but it's a lot of fun watching the game. This is the only time of year that I watch the NBA and enjoy it. And it's actually fun watching all this. All the threes that Curry's throwing up, Harden playing like he is, the other players. With the Cavaliers, I thought they could do something, but not without their key players. LeBron's great, but now he's elevating other players. So, I mean, that's a good thing. Oh, wait, I got an interruption here. Devin Shea said that El Salvadorian report is the women's football team in El Salvador tells Zach hi. That was a text message
Thanks.
I got.
And just for the record, on the WPA Wildcats, there's a lot of friends from my neighborhood that are on that team. So shout out to all my boys on the Wildcats.
Oh,
We
the
get a lot of
Buccos
love.
up 1-0.
Them battling Buccos. They're on
Yep.
they're on a tear.
Gong.
Thanks, Devin
got
Shea,
another-
for your service in El Salvador. I heard you put down another revolution there of Heat. So you beat the Heat, not in Miami, but thanks, Devin Shea. He's in that control room, manning all the equipment, and somehow he moved around. Rarely do we see him in an hour, but so far he's been in our room twice, and he did post some signage outside. So thanks, Zach. Welcome back. Well, Z, the basketball season's great. You covered a lot in Z time. I'm ready for On Location. We're going to the Village Tavern and Trattoria. That's in the West End, South Main Street, where the old Temperanceville is. Check out owner Ray Hannis. We'll be there from 6 to 9. We're doing jazz and sports again. We've got a combination with vocalist, jazz singer Jessica Lee, guitarist Mark Strickland. We may have a saxophone player, Jay Willis. They do dinner and jazz from 6 to 8. Come on out. It's a great show. We might be out on the patio. That's Thursday night. Then we come in with Pittsburgh Sportsline. We're bringing a lot of great guests. Go to our Facebook page for the event. We probably got about 30-some people coming, so check it out. Call for reservations, and we'll see you there. We'll be at the Royal Place on Monday. We're lining up some guests from boxers to you name it coming in, MMA, because there's Gladiators of the Cage next Saturday on the 6th. So we'll be checking that out up in Butler. And On Location, we'll be back in Dukes on the 8th. And I wanted to announce that my friend and the voice of the Meadows announcer of harness racing for over 40 years, Roger Houston, is coming to our show. He agreed to be there, so check out Duke's Rib House on June 8th. I'll be posting that up probably tomorrow, and that should be a great show. Just with the stories that Roger has, it's unreal. He's the guy that come up with, when he announced the pit games at the stadium, Hugh Green. If anybody remembers that Hugh Green, that he would say, Roger did that. He also announced other sports. Come on out and meet Roger Houston. He'll make it out. He's glad he'll be done with the races before that, so he'll be there around 7 o'clock. Thanks, Roger Houston, and we'll see you then. All right, let's go to Bucco talk right now. They're winning 1-0.
Top of the second inning, Jung Ho Gong is once again he's showing
Batting over 300.
that he's a major league ball player. They took him out of the Korean leagues, which they said was something to the equivalent of Double-A baseball.
Yeah.
And he's getting it done in the major league level. He's hitting for average. He's driving
And he's also
runs.
fielding well enough that he's keeping Jordy Mercer on the bench.
Well, Jordy Mercer is keeping Jordy Mercer on the bench, and Jordy
yeah, that's
Mercer
true.
started out last year very slowly in April and May, and he caught fire around the end of May, and he played as well as any shortstop in the major leagues. Defensively, I think Jordy Mercer has a little bit better range than Gong does. Right now,
And he's taller, too. He wouldn't have to make those jumps to catch the ball.
But Gong's got better luck at bat, and Jordy's working on through some of his problems, and I think that he's going to be fine. I think what this does with the emergence of Jung Ho Gong is this is enabling Jae-Hae to get back to the place where he was playing second base one day, third base, right field, because last year he was awesome at doing that. This year at third base, maybe he was trying a little too hard, but he has gotten his stroke back, and he and Andrew McCutchen, who is once again playing like the best player in the National League.
Hold it, I got to interrupt an announcement. Smoking Jim Frazier, his hair is not grown back, and he's hitting over 300.
Yeah,
That knee's fine, huh?
Yeah, well,
I told you,
all the
Heal.
experts on talk radio they were insisting that he was hurt and that he should be sat down. Once again, they were wrong.
Well, it's amazing when the weather gets warmer, so does Kutch. And that's a great thing. It's exciting baseball, and you know what? It helps us to talk about other aspects of the game.
Well, you've got Alvarez who's starting to hit with some power. Neil Walker started off the year hot and has kind of cooled off a little bit. Starling Marte is playing like an all-star. I think that
He's playing up to his potential.
He's a good spot in either the fourth or the fifth hole in the lineup. He's not a leadoff hitter. He's able to drive in runs.
He has speed. I mean, the throwers can't keep up with him when they get home.
Gregory Polanco is struggling, and that's something that I believe that they're going to work out. But right now, the Pirates are clicking on all cylinders. Their starting pitching is incredible. Their bullpen has been very adequate.
Melanson speed's starting to inch up too.
And you know what? And the least important statistic for a pitcher for me is how fast he throws the ball. Because I don't care if you throw it 70 miles an hour or if you throw it 700 miles an hour. If you're getting guys to swing and miss and getting them out, you're doing your job.
Well, that's what I was going to say about Nolan Ryan, because I can't speak to the early stages of his career, but I can sure attest to the later stages of it. And it seemed like he just was a crafty vet, and he just knew how to pitch and knew what to do with his body to get guys out.
See, and that's when these young guys come up into the major leagues, they get to the major leagues by throwing the ball faster than anybody else. And it's after they get to the majors is when they actually learn how to pitch. Right now, A.J. Burnett, if you look at A.J. Burnett right now at 38 and you look at Garrett Cole in his early 20s, I think Garrett Cole mirrors the kind of a pitcher that A.J. Burnett was in his early career. He was a good pitcher with an incredible fastball and great control. Now A.J. Burnett has lost a few miles per hour off his fastball, but he's a wily veteran. He knows how to pitch. He knows how to mix up his speeds. A.J. Burnett has been nothing short of incredible this year.
Well, he's healthy. That's one of the things I was worried about. It's hard to come back
his
in your
earned
late
run
30s.
average, his earned run average is microscopic. I think right now he's the ace of the staff, but the accolades will probably go to Garrett Cole. And Cole is
6-2.
6-2. AJ's 4-1, and Cole's ERA is even down in the low twos, which anybody that's got an ERA lower than 2.5.
Hold it, Mr. Negative Baseball Man called in, and Smoking Jim, in your wisdom, a guy raised his average 79 points. Smoking Jim goes, Kutch only has a 259 average. At 180, he was saying he'll never come back.
Yeah.
Smoking Jim, you're hilarious. Matt Harkins just gave us an announcement from the control room. Josh Harrison made a great catch, and Rob Stanton of a hit.
Right, but Jim, just to clarify for you, since
80 points up.
Since May the 1st, Andrew McCutchen has been batting over 300. He's hit 5 home runs. He's driving in runs. He doesn't need to hair.
Hold
Jim.
it, we're still in May, aren't we?
Yeah, we're still in May. That was since the start of May.
Smoking Jim, call in. Or get one of your sweeties to call in. 412-831-3304. And tell us what you're doing watching that, eating popcorn on that 99-inch screen.
And I said this before the season started. I've said it after the season started. I'm going to say it again today. The Pirates are going to catch the Cardinals and win the division this year.
Whoa.
And that's a bold prediction.
He's been bold
because
all year.
Right now, I think a bad detriment to the Pirates is the resurgence of the Cubs, because nobody thought the Cubs were going to bounce back
As quickly.
Yeah, it was going to be a 1 or 2 year
They
kind
thought
of
at
thing
least.
with
you know
Theo, with young Epstein.
You know what the
brilliant
Cubs
mind.
remind me of right now is the Pirates back in 2011. They got a young team that they don't know what they're capable of, and as they go through the grind of the regular season, there's going to be a couple of injuries, and they're going to fall off. And the Cubs are going to be somebody that's going to need to be dealt with moving forward over the next 3 or 4 seasons, because Theo Epstein, who happened to rebuild the Red Sox into a 2-time World Series champion.
He broke the curse.
Yeah, he's in Chicago right now. He got an idea of what he's doing, and the Cubs are going to be something to contend with.
And they like to spend money.
Yeah, they like to
They'll
spend
spend
money,
money.
but I don't think they've got the arms and the pitching staff to take them through the season. I don't think they have the depth.
Well, to jump off of baseball real quick, on Sunday I was fortunate enough to watch the Grand Prix of Monaco first thing in the morning, followed by the Indianapolis 500, and then concluding with the Coca-Cola 600 from Charlotte. So on Sunday I had a full array of auto racing.
A lot of left turns, huh?
In the Grand Prix, of Monaco.
He can't even look at us. He's looking
In the
left.
Grand Prix of Monaco, it's through the great city of Monaco. So there's
Really?
there's a lot more than just turning left in
I
Formula
wonder
1.
how they come up with that name.
One of the things about racing that really, when I was a child growing up, the biggest race of the year was the Indy 500. That was like the Super Bowl of all racing. That even outweighed the Daytona 500, and that's one thing about NASCAR. I'm never going to understand, why do you have your biggest race of the year in the first race? I think it would be have it as the last race of the year. But what do I?
They're ready.
They're
trained.
You know,
they're ready. The cars are ready.
Since I can speak a little bit to it, because I'm a huge fan of NASCAR, and I've been to the last 2 Daytona 500s. The thing of it is Chip, that it's the Daytona 500 is like the Super Bowl, but it's one of those deals where it costs millions upon millions of dollars just for the most minuscule things in that sport. Mm-hmm. And the car is $1 million+ just for one car. So the first race of the season is more of a celebration to all the guys that are paying the big money for these things. You got all the people. Well, I know, I see it. All the families from all the big major corporations come in, all the employees, all the key players.
At each race?
Not so much.
Not so much.
Because you don't have the ability to handle that many. When you go to places like Richmond or Bristol, they're small towns. They've got stadiums that are just like these little things that they still put 150,000 people into them. But when you get on to Daytona, you've got millions of people down there.
And it's like I said, it's an atmosphere. Like I
Isn't
can
that
show these
around
guys.
Spring break too.
Yeah,
That's the time
spring
to be
break
there.
comes. Spring break comes, and Bike Week comes after. That's another great time to be down there if you're a fan of biking and motorcycling.
But I used to like for several years people like Tony Stewart, and I know there was a couple of others that ran the Indy and the Coca-Cola.
Yeah, double
600,
duty.
And I would have loved to have seen somebody pull the double. I know it's tough. I mean, that's driving.
Well,
race
you know
car.
what? The thing of it is, Chip, the reason why it's so tough is because of how tough it is to drive these cars at Indianapolis. It's
The
not
G-force.
just but that's the first thing. It's not so hard to jump in the car in Charlotte and drive in the NASCAR. It's real hard on your body driving in the
Right,
Indy
and you
500.
got to think, you're in that car for 3 hours, and you're out driving 200+ miles an hour, and you can't lose a second of concentration, because the minute you do, you're all over the infield and the grandstand.
And as it stands right now, there haven't been many that have been able to make the transition from open wheel to jump into a NASCAR and dominate the sport.
Yeah,
and
good point.
you guys were fortunate enough to have been around with some great names: Unser,
Yeah.
Mears, Andretti. I didn't get to watch
Petty.
Richard Petty in NASCAR. Like I'll say,
Junior
that,
Johnson. And,
I was able to
Cale Yarborough and all those other guys.
to watch a lot of Earnhardt. I only
Legends.
missed 6 years, pretty much in the '80s of
Right.
Earnhardt's career. So
He wasn't a very liked man.
Well,
So,
no, I mean, but he
they
was.
didn't like him at all.
They didn't like him because he was all about winning, man. And
Luckily, his mother didn't drive a race car.
he'd have run her. into
hey,
the
shout
wall.
out to Dale Earnhardt's mom. She still lets people walk on the grounds down there in Kannapolis, North
Nice.
Carolina, if they stop by. So
As well she should there.
it was a great day of racing. Junior finished third, made a little late
what?
in NASCAR
Oh, okay.
in the race to
I
end.
didn't
The
know.
real race to me only mattered at night. I love racing, but the
Yeah.
true race started in North Carolina at 6 p.m. So Junior finished third. He's fourth in points right now. He's having an unbelievable year statistically. He's got something like 5 straight top fives, 7 top tens.
Racco's
So,
points up.
well, the NASCAR, the way they changed the format, like I've talked to over the last couple of years, is you win a race and you're in the chase, and that
Well,
kind of
I
like
mean, now, correct me on this one because apparently I'm not completely understanding this. Now, you've got the top top 12 cars, and then there's 2 wild cards, right?
Yep.
Now, if you don't end up in the top 12, okay, and you win a race, do you still get into the chase, or do you have to still be?
no.
one of
All
the
you have to
top
do is
12?
win a race.
That's winning a race.
Win,
That's all.
win, and you're in.
So, theoretically, then if there's 32 races, you could possibly have 32 people in the chase for the cup if everybody each won one race.
Yes.
Okay,
But
so then the point
the
standings, the odds of that happening,
Yes.
they're
Yes.
incalculable.
Correct.
But then what's the purpose of having a point standing if all you have to do is win a race to get into the chase?
Well, maybe it helps fine tune.
I'm not trying to
And
bust
those
your
last
chops.
couple spots
These
are going
one
to
of
be
those things I'm trying
determined
to
by
understand.
points, though, because you figure you're not going to. You might have like 8 or 9 different drivers win all season. So the rest of those positions by the non-winners is going to be filled out by how you did the rest of the races of the season.
Okay, but here's another thing that I'm just thinking of. Like, okay, so you win a race, you get a chance at the chase. So that say, one guy has an incredible year and he wins like 8 races, and then he's gonna have somebody that could potentially win the title
That didn't win a race.
that won one race when you won 8 times as many, and you then clearly dominated the sport. You have. In the last race of the year, you have a bad race.
But
you get
you
crashed.
want to know, if you guys really want to know why this was all instituted, was
Yes.
because of the dominance of the number 48 car, Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus won 5 straight championships in a row. They called him Old 5-time. Well, he has 6 now, but he won 5 in a row.
Sure.
And that's something that you can't name too many sports where a guy did it 5 straight years in a row. So they decided, hey, they listened to the fans. They changed the system up to make it harder on these guys. Because what Jimmy Johnson was doing was, he might not have had the greatest season, but towards the end, they just turned it on. They turned it on when they needed to. They won. They were great at certain tracks, and the fans were clamoring for a change. And like you guys know, in baseball, they moved the mound. They changed this. They added the DH.
Sure.
Well, in NASCAR, they said, you know what? We're going to do something about this where. It doesn't matter. We want a reset button at the end of the year to determine the championship. The best 14 cars are going to get a chance.
Well, they need to pump the fans up too because they lost a lot of fans. The sport lost millions and millions of dollars. Fans don't come out like they did before.
And and the unfortunate thing is about NASCAR is it doesn't really translate well into television. Now, if you're a true racing fan like yourself, that's one thing. But it's like unless it's the Masters or the U.S. Open. I mean, how many Sunday afternoons am I going to sit at home and watch a golf tournament? Probably not. And then if you got a race on, it's like it's constant, the same thing. You might see an accident here and there. I don't think it's a sport that translates well to television.
But they do different things, Chip, where they run on Saturday night, they run on Friday night. Like they do different things to try to mix it up and catch people. But it's, you guys know, even in the summertime, it's hard. People they should be outside. Not too many people are at home.
You've got that
I
right.
see them on their smartphones looking at the races. Whoa. I see them on the
No,
smartphones.
you know
like
what
my
I
buddy
see.
there
You know
and
what I
stuff.
see when I go to Pirate games. I go to Pirate games and I see people doing this, and I'm like,
Well,
There's a baseball game going
well, not
on.
just that, but how about this though? For the baseball is one of those sports too where you gotta pay attention.
If
Things
you're
coming
sitting
in
there
the
at the
stand- if you're in a
game, yes.
certain area, like I could.
Speaking of baseball, our control room's on fire. Jay Hay hit a double. It's 2-0. Neil Walker just hit a 2-run homer. It's 4-0 Buccos. So don't switch that dial yet. We got 8 minutes and 45 seconds. Bear with us. The Buccos are winning 4-0 so far.
So we're going to get our first 5-game winning streak of the year.
Well, we've had that 5-game losing streak, so we got to get that equaled out. That's just part of it. Sorry
Jay
to
Hay,
interrupt
2
your
for 2.
NASCAR there, but
Well-
it's baseball season.
Hey, it's also horse racing season. Speaking of racing,
Whoa.
and American Pharoah has a rare chance. We've had
I'm
a
all
couple.
in.
We've had a couple in the last couple years of him. We had some
Oh,
strong
yeah.
horses that won the first 2, and then kind of fizzled out in the final.
Kind of from broken bones to everything else.
Since 1978, when Affirmed was the last Triple
Yeah.
Crown winner. No, Seattle Slew won the Triple Crown too. Did
Yeah,
it
and
not?
Secretariat. You had like
Secretary. So
In
the
the
3 of them in the
70s.
70s. We had 3 of them in the 70s.
we got so spoiled, Zach.
Not one
We had
fifth.
horse racing. We had Super Bowls. We had World Series. I mean, how good could it get in sports? I
No.
like the horses too. And
And then it got pretty bad in the 80s after 80.
when were you born?
I didn't come until 84.
That's what happened.
See, yeah,
Can't believe
It was
it.
bad after 81.
I was trying to figure out what happened. Sorry, Zach. I was just trying to hit that home run.
when I was a child, the Pirates of the 60s were a strong baseball team. They won the 60
Yeah.
World Series. The Pirates of the 70s, another strong perennial contender. We won
Decade,
2
yeah.
World Series. The 80s, the first 6 years of the 80s were probably one of the darkest days ever for the Pirates when they had the drug trials with Dave Parker and Dale Barra and Bill Madlock and some other people got caught up in that, and they basically had to completely blow up the whole franchise. That's when they brought in Jim Leland, and it was a slow, gradual process that finally in 1989
Yeah, the end of the
started
80s.
producing the 90, 91, and 92 division champs that ultimately didn't make it to the World Series, and then we had the 21-year drought. So if you look at the Pirates' history over their 135 years, you can see there's been
streaky.
cycles of this. Like when Ralph Kiner, who's just recently passed away this year, was the big home run hitter for the Pirates. I mean, the Pirates stunk. They had the worst record in the league for
They'd
quite
come
a
to
number
watch
of
him
years.
hit home runs
They come
late
to
in the
watch
game.
him hit home runs, and that was it. I mean, but people still came out to watch the games because, there
baseball
wasn't a whole lot of options available
No,
for
you didn't have
entertainment.
TV like you did.
No.
Sports 24/7. You didn't have ESPN or any of the other initial stations. So.
Mm-hmm.
But American Pharoah could do it. I think there's a great chance with him, like I said last week, with him being on an off track, on a good track. So he has the speed, he has endurance.
Well, see, the thing is with the Belmont is you're running a full quarter of a mile longer.
Yeah.
And so that's really what is the true test of the horse because not these shorter tracks. But the thing that kind of like blew my mind is, there was a good field for the Kentucky Derby. Everybody wants to run in the Kentucky Derby, but there was only 8 horses running in the Belmont. And
It was some bad conditions too. though.
Well, and
the mud. The
and you
mud
wouldn't have
makes
pos-
it.
yeah.
You got $1 million horses, potential stud fees that are out of sight, even if you win one race.
So-
and depending on how you are in the breeding of the horses, so that's always a concern.
Is
But
that
then-
why they hold out horses and the
Well,
conditions
I tried
aren't
to
ideal?
explain last week. Chip will probably like this. Every year, like when a horse is born, say he's born in June.
right.
The next year, he's another year older. Even though he was born in June, he might only be a year and a half, but they say he's 2 years. So
Right.
that's one of the reasons people are strategic with the horses, with the Kentucky Derby, Preakness, and Belmont. A horse that may have been born in June, he's not really 3 years old yet. They aren't as developed as they should. Some do, and depending on how they train them. So when they have a few iffy things, they're not going to chance him in that because this could be a multi-million-dollar horse.
Sure. I mean,
So that's one of the strategies. A horse born in maybe April, May, February, they're 3 years old. So they're
right.
it's like in high school. That 3-4 months that you see a kid from being a freshman to a sophomore, that makes a difference, let alone a sophomore to a junior. And that's how I look at it. Other experts think the same, and some people are just put them out or don't even race them at 3 because it's too much of a
Well, as a
risk.
jockey, Levine, is there anything that going into this last race the jockey for American Pharoah can do just to to just
He's done a
put the
great
hammer
job.
down. Is it like to get the most? Is he getting the most out of that horse?
And he's won several Kentucky Derbies, which Willie Shoemaker didn't even do.
Right. Well, one of the things that a jockey can do is they keep a horse live, and there's normal ways that you can do it. Just how a horse is when you're holding the bit, how you're riding on him. You'll see some of them stand up in the saddle there, to try to like get in motion with the horse and just be a natural. And then their weight is, very minimal, 130 some pounds, 120 pounds. So
I thought it was
some,
lighter than that.
Well, some of them are, but usually they'll
so
add
Rob
weight.
Salka could be a horse jockey?
Yeah, Robbie Salka could come out and do it. He'd have to cut a little more weight and it'd be possible. And then you have to be strong, because what you guys forget, these horses are great athletes. They're 1,200 pounds. That's what they weigh, at least. So these are big horses, and they're in the strength that they have. You could die out there on the track. I'm surprised more people don't. If they stop, like they see things,
Well,
they'll stop,
even out
move
the
to the
meadows,
side.
even out the meadows with the sulkies, I've seen some accidents
So
happen.
have I, and I've seen horses die on the track.
Sure.
I mean, it's terrible to see that. I'm an animal lover, and this is an extreme sport. And some trainers and stuff push them and do things. The good trainers, they keep their horses healthy because it's an athlete.
Would you go for broke, though, at this point, knowing
No,
that there
here's-
hasn't been one since
Here's the
'78?
thing that you have to watch with a long race like this. If you go full out for a horse at that whole length, it's hard, especially if the fractions are fast. You have to, it's so complex, even though it seems simple. You have to rate your horse. You want to go so fast, but yet not too fast.
So it doesn't
Then you want to
fizzle.
have, because you can't shift
you want to
gears
have
on
a
a
kick.
horse.
You want to have a kick at the end.
And
You wanna have
some
something left.
horses are natural closers. I know this might be boring to some, and maybe you don't like the bet, so don't bet. Enjoy the races. But a horse, some are very usable. You can use them once or twice. Others, they only have one shot. So if you start out and they're back, they have a good closing ability, and they can come up and close. And you got to have a good driver or a good jockey. But the problem is you do have traffic. So with me, less horses in these bigger races like the Preakness and Belmont, I sort of like it because it doesn't matter what post position you have. Ideally, you look for that 5, 6, 7 post. But even if you're 8 or 9 and you have that many horses.
Didn't American Pharaoh, doesn't he have the inside or the first position?
Did they draw yet for
I
it?
don't know if they drew for this one. Last race they did draw, and he had the rail. They actually didn't want the rail.
No, because you can get boxed in, and then
'Cause the
your
other
horse
horses
doesn't get a
have-
chance to run.
They're banked like we talk about. A track is banked like this, like a racetrack that the cars are on. You're in the one hole. Your horse out here,
He's working a lot harder.
look at him. He's already getting to the gate. He's at the gate. They let him go. He's already got the angle to go a little faster. So he can get there. So you got to be tactical to go up there and
And you
hang
don't
in
want to
there.
get
It's
boxed in.
strategic.
You
Yeah.
don't want to get boxed in against the rail because then your horse can't run, and then by the time you get him free and you get him into full gallop.
Well, the other thing you worry about is you choke a horse down. What that means, you held him back so much, you took the heart out of him.
Sure.
You can't get him started back up. And you see that in races because you go, what's that jockey doing? Well, he's got nowhere to go. You can't just go and make a right turn
Sure.
to go win the race. And then the rail's in the way, too, if you try to make a left.
Yes.
So you got to be patient. I don't think you can go all wild, Zach, and go wire to wire.
So
It
your
might be
prediction,
possible.
Willie or won't he do it?
We get a triple crown.
We got a triple crown
Triple
winner.
crown,
You heard
that's
it
what
here.
I
Al
think.
Levine's on record.
Yeah, American Pharaoh. Don't bet the house. Enjoy the race.
Hey, real quick, I just want to give a shout out. A good friend of mine got hurt today on the construction scene. They didn't put the scaffolding on right. He fell 2 stories and shattered both of his feet.
Ooh.
So, Sammy the Bull, get well soon, buddy.
Yeah, I hope so.
Sorry to
And,
hear that.
Hey, Chip, thanks for making it back with all the trivia and baseball. Zach Brenner, thanks for bringing everything you brought. I can't keep track of all the subjects you brought, but they were all good. I'm Al Levine, the Talking Machine. Thanks for watching us. We'll see you on location. Come out Thursday night, Village Tavern and Trattoria. Monday, the Royal Place. Dan Bogan's going to be there. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Be safe. Stay Joey strong.